You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth, and wow, it's finally back, the Prospect Show. I couldn't be happier. It's been so long since we've aired one of these shows, since we've aired the Prospect Show here on ASTV. And to fill you guys in on why that's been the case, it's just been time. The schedule. It's been very busy here at ASTV Productions since the last time that I've done one of these shows, and it also came down to availability of guests to have on this episode. Of course, in the summer, hockey players aren't different from anyone else. Kids aren't different from anyone else, and just the sense that they're very busy during the summer, being out at the cabin, visiting with family, of course, with COVID-19, simmering down a bit with the vaccines, helping people being able to do the stuff that they want to do again, like doing sports games and many of the other benefits that come with the vaccine. There wasn't really a lot of time for these players to come on the show, and September and so far in October has been pretty busy for me and a lot of people here on the network with us broadcasting hockey games. And yeah, I think that now is the right time to bring this show back to air these episodes again of this show, because there's just too much talent not to cover here in the world of hockey, of prospects here in North America. And just to give you guys a summary of what the Prospect Show is about, if you're a new viewer to this show, or if you need a reminder if you've seen the show before and it's been a while, I'm going to fill you guys in. This show is all about me interviewing some of the top hockey prospects in North America, whether that be from AAA or AA leagues here in North America, whether that being U18 or U15s, whether it is CSSHL, high school hockey, or any other leagues that these prospects are making some noise in North America this season. We're going to interview them here on the show, and there's going to be some changes coming to the show. It's not just going to be me interviewing players, it's going to be me interviewing coaches, general managers, maybe some presidents of leagues, and of course, like we were doing before, talking to some scouts, some people who are also involved in the hockey world here, into helping develop and recognizing these prospects here in the hockey world in North America. And there's another change to this show now. Instead of it airing on Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, it's going to air on Mondays now at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just works a bit better for the schedule for us here on ASTV. So from now on, you guys can tune in every Monday night and watch the interviews I'm doing here with some of the best hockey talent, some coaches, and some other people around the hockey world here in North America. So starting off tonight's episode, or starting off the return of the Prospect Show in tonight's episode, we're only going to be talking to one guest in tonight's episode, actually, and that's the head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League, Chris Keleher. Chris, his team this season is 5-2. They're currently sitting in 5th place in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League. And I had Chris on the show to talk about the roster this season, the results that the team has had so far, the talent that he has a chance to coach against and coach in this league, as well as the upcoming games that this team has this upcoming weekend. So without further ado, let's welcome in Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires, on this edition of the Prospect Show, the return of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions.
Wow.
Joining me now on the Prospect Show is head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League, the U18 League in Saskatchewan for AAA. It's Chris Keleher. Chris joins me today, or on tonight's episode of the Prospect Show, to talk about his team's season so far, the roster, and the results they've had so far as a team. So, Chris, first off, thanks for joining me here on the Prospect Show. We're doing this interview pre-recorded before this episode comes out tonight. How are you doing on this Monday afternoon, late afternoon?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Great to have you on the show. Let's get right down to it. The team this season, 5-2 so far, sitting 5th place in the league, 24 goals for, 24 against. Just talk about the season and how things have gone so far for the Legionnaires, having hockey back in Saskatchewan in this AAA league.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just to be playing and having a normal season is very exciting for us. There's still have to wear masks in the rink, and us as coaches have to wear masks on the ice, but I think that's a trade-off any of us would take. So yeah, just being back, the fact we're back playing and back to a normal routine is nice. Yeah, we're 5-2. We had 2 wins this weekend, so we're in a good spot. One of our goals is to qualify for the Max tournament, so it's important for us to put ourselves in a good position here to qualify for that in a few weeks. But there's room for improvement. We're a young group. We only have 5 17-year-olds, and so we've got a lot of inexperience, but we're getting better here each week, and that's the goal. Is continue to improve and continue to grow as a group. I think we're seeing that here as we make our way through October. So all in all, we're happy with where we're at, but not definitely not satisfied.
Talk about the roster this year. Like you mentioned it, a young team and a team with some inexperience, but talk about how you've seen these new players come in for you guys and really fill the holes, really step up in the lineup.
Yeah, we've got 2 15-year-olds, 2 06 players, and the core of our team is the 05 group. We've got a lot of 16-year-olds, but it's been in the dressing room and off the ice, it's our groups come together pretty quick, and that was part of our hope. We had our team pretty early. We had our guys committed, all 20 guys committed at the start of May. So we've had our team for 5.5 months here, and that was part of the I guess the process, if you will, during the spring and summer, was to have our group and get them gelling right away. I think I mentioned before, last time you and I chatted, we brought the guys into Swift a couple times during the summer and did some team building stuff, and we felt that was important just because of all the new faces that we had. And the hope was that once we got into things and once the season got going and guys moved in at the end of August, it would be an easier transition, and the guys would that have already have those relationships formed, and that's what's happened, and it's just continued to grow, as we've gone on. So the group we have is, a really good group. Everyone gets along with everybody, and us as coaches enjoy each and every one of them. As far as our roster goes, we've had contributions from all over the lineup. Our team captain Carter Cormier, it's his third year in the league, and he's the guy that makes us go. And if anybody's watched the games that we played this season, he's our hardest worker. Leads the way. He's got the C on his sweater for a reason, and the numbers aren't there for him right now, but with him, there's just so many other things that he does well. Even if he's not, sewn up on the score sheet, there's many other things that he's doing well. So he's had a good start. Matt Riplinger, one of our assistant captains and one of our returnees from last year, he's had another good start. He's another guy that just the work ethic is off the charts, and he was rewarded with a call up to Kindersley last week and played a game with the Clippers. And then other guys, like one of our first year guys, one of our 15-year-olds, Hudson Darby, he's had opportunity to play a top six role for us, and he's found the back in that a couple times. And Bryant Lakelater, our other 15-year-old, he scored his first this weekend, and and that's plenty of other contributions from guys kind of all over the lineup. So it's good to see, and that needs to continue for us to to keep having success and to qualify for the max and keep pushing further down the line here.
Talking about the defensemen, talking about guys like Quinn Legria, Gavin Granger, and then Nick Smolinski, as well as a guy like Carter Herman, who's tied for the lead in points right now on the team with 6. Just talk about how nice it's been to see the contributions from the back end in terms of those guys putting the puck in the net so far this year.
Our back end, we've got 7 guys. It's a good mix of the 7 that we have. We've got, all 7 guys can skate, and that's a big part of the game, is having your D being able to, to not only move the puck and but to be mobile, and use their legs. So we've got 7 guys who are good skaters and can contribute that way. But we knew, outside of, and this is no disrespect to anybody on our team, outside of Carter Cormier, we don't have anybody as we sit here October 18th that are established offensive players like Carter. We've got a lot of potential up front with our 05s and 06s and even our 04s. But we knew we'd need some offense from our back end because we figured we'd struggle to score a little bit, which this weekend we buried. We had 11 goals this weekend in 2 games, which is a nice breakout for us. But we thought it'd take a little bit for our forwards to score, so we knew we need some offense from Nick Smolinski, from Carter Herman, from Gavin Granger, and those other guys too. And we've been getting it. And like you said, Herm, he leads our team in scoring. It's not very often you see a defenseman lead a team in scoring, but he's had a pretty good start to the year offensively, and he's got a big bomb of a shot from the back end, and he's used that, and he likes to jump up on offense and use his feet. So he's showed that. Nick Smolinski, he's another guy. The numbers for Smo, they're not going to stand out, but he's such a good skater, and he can see the ice well, and he quarterbacks our first power play unit. So he's another guy that is a driver of the offense there. Granger, Quinn Legria, they both have really good shots and have shown that. And Jet Lamb, Mitchell Chalmers, and Theo McGuire, they're other 3 defensemen, and they all bring some good qualities as well. So our back end, we're going to rely on them all year, not only to to keep the puck out and to play well defensively, but to chip in on the offensive side too.
Talking about a player like Hudson Darby, team leading goal scorer so far this year, 4 goals, 1 assist. You spoke about how he's been having a chance to play in a top 6 role for you guys so far this year. Just speak about what's impressed you the most about Hudson Darby's game so far this year, for what he's been able to do so far for you guys.
Yeah, there's been a few things. His he's got some good bloodlines. His dad Regan. I might, if he's gonna watch this, he might. I might end up giving the wrong answer, but I think his dad was an NHL draft pick, and and played some pro hockey or some semi-pro hockey. So he's got some good bloodlines there. And his dad is he's a skills coach in Swift here. So he puts in the work. He had a good summer. We committed to Hudson in the end of March or early April, whatever it was, and he had a really good spring and summer. We grew, we put some weight on, so he prepared well for the season. But what's impressed us so far, he's a great kid. He's coachable. He asks questions. Whatever we ask him to do, he's done it so far, and we put him in a role that not many first year kids get the opportunity for, and he's actually a young 06, and he's not 15 till after Christmas. So he's a young pup. So he's we weren't sure, but we thought, he's got some good offensive traits to his game, and he's smart. He's a smart player. His hockey IQ is really strong. So we thought we'll put him with Cormier, and see what he can do. And he had 2 goals our first game against Tisdale, and then went through a little bit of a dry spell. But he scored this weekend, and that he's going to be a guy that, as long as he can continue to show that he's deserving of the opportunity, and he's playing on one of our power play units. So as long as he can continue that, we're going to keep him up where he is.
Let's speak about some of the returning players now. Of course, Carter Cormier, he's had a chance to play in 7 games this season, has 6 points. He's tied for team leading points along with Carter Herman. But just speak about returning players like Carter and the other returning players on this team, how they've looked this season out there on the ice.
Yeah, we don't have many. Cormier, Herman, Nick Smolinski, and Matt Riplinger. Those are only 4 returning guys. So that's our leadership group. Cormier is our captain, and Riplinger, Herman, Smo are our 3 assistant captains. So we've been happy with all 4 of them. They knew coming into the year that we weren't going to have many guys back from last season. So they knew as returning guys that their game on the ice needed to take the next step, but also that they were going to be asked a lot off the ice, and as far as forming part of our leadership group goes. And each of them brings something different to the table. I mentioned Cormier and Riplinger's work ethic. They're probably our 2 hardest workers, so they lead by example that way. Herman Smo on the back end. Herm was drafted by Regina, and they signed him at the end of training camp, and then he's gotten into some exhibition games. So, he's someone who has taken the next step this year. Last year as a rookie, we only played 6 games before COVID shut everything down. So, he's really coming to this year. He was still a rookie. So he's he's taken the next step this year, and we've been impressed with what he's brought on and off the ice, and from leadership perspective goes. And Small is a 17-year-old. He's a pretty quiet kid. He's not going to be someone who's in the dressing room. He's not a rah guy. He's not a very vocal guy, but again, his play. his play leads by example, and he's our only 17-year-old that we have on defense. So he's been a calming presence this year in his game. He's taken it to the next level. He's just much more confident with the puck, with and without the puck, and his physical play has come along. So he's he's a guy who's put himself in a good position to move on to junior hockey next year. And those four guys need to continue to lead the way.
Well, Coach, we're going to throw it to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Coach Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires and the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League, the U18 AAA Hockey League in Saskatchewan. We'll be back with him to talk more about the Legionnaires lineup and their upcoming games, the results so far, coming up here on the Prospect Show on ASTV. Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm joined in this interview by Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League. I've just been having a chance to talk to Chris so far about this roster this season, some of their returning players. They only got 4 this season, talked about their rookies as well, and we're going to continue talking about this roster now. Chris, 24 goals for, 24 against so far this season, 5-2. Good to be 5th in the league so far at this point, as this recording is on Monday, October 18th. But just looking at the strengths and weaknesses of this team so far this year, what have you seen in that regard from the team so far?
Coming into the season, we thought our defense was going to be a strength of ours. I mentioned earlier the qualities that all 7 guys brought, and we've got some drafted guys back there, some Western League drafted listed players, and some SJ drafted players. So we thought that was going to be a strength of our group. And that's they've gone through some growing pains as a group, but the last probably 10 days, 14 days, we've noticed a difference from them, and that's just confidence is a big part of that. We've played 7 games plus our preseason, plus we played 5 games at a tournament 2 weeks ago at Edge Academy, so we're 15 games into this now. So the further along we get here and the more games they play and the more we practice, that comfort level is gonna continue to continue to get better. So that's one of our strengths, and I think when at the end of the day here, that'll be that will continue with that back end of ours. In net, coming in the year, we had 2 improving guys. We've got Shenstead. He's an 04. He's one of our 17-year-olds. He played 2 years of AA in Warman. But high hopes for him. He's just coming off an injury. He was out for about 2 weeks and came back this week. So, his play was really starting to come along, and then he got injured at the end of the Calgary tournament there. So that was disappointing for him, but he's a kid that just loves the game and works super hard. So he'll get back to where he needs to be. And then our other guy, Liam Ernst, he's been out injured since middle of August. He missed camp in August, and he hasn't touched the ice since. So he's coming back. He should be back soon. He had a broken bone in his leg, so he's got the walking boot off now, and his physio is getting started here right away. So he's a couple weeks away still, but we feel our goaltending once both guys get settled in will put us in a good spot and give us a chance to compete every night. And then up front, again, we like the skill level there. We like the mix of size that we have, and and speed. So that's areas to improve for sure. That's an area, our forward group as a whole, that we want to see improvement in. But our offense has been spread out, and we haven't scored a ton of goals. We had, as I said, a couple breakthrough games this weekend, but our scoring has been spread around. We look to a guy like Cormier, and I know even his teammates would say this too. Look to him to drive the offense and be a big part of that. And then he's gotten his chances. His numbers aren't there, but our scoring has been spread out. We've got I think almost everybody has scored at least once, and that's what it needs to be. Is we need contributions from everybody. But yeah, kind of a long-winded answer, but I think the answer to your question, our back end, we saw it as probably the biggest strength of the team going into the season, and I think that that rings true here as we sit today.
Yeah, definitely a huge part of any team is having a strong back end. You guys definitely have the talent and the skill to have a great back end, like you've been saying. But talking about the talent in this league, of course, there's been WHL players, some players getting drafted to junior leagues. Just speak about how nice it is to be able to coach against the talent, see the talent that is not only on your team, but the other teams here in this AAA Hockey League, the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, as as an opposing coach, you've got to make sure your guys are ready to go every night. And last week we had, I guess, the week before, we had the Blazers here twice, and they came in and they were playing well. They were 5-0 and scoring a lot of goals, and we were able to to take one from them and push them a little bit in the second game. But they're loaded. They're loaded with young talent, really good young talent. They're a very young team. A lot of those sixes, a lot of first year players, but some high end talent. So sitting back or standing behind the bench as a coach or those two games, it's you're obviously focused on what your team's doing and and what you can do to to come out of there with 2 points, but just seeing the things that their players were able to do, and the puck movement in the offensive zone, and just some of the individual skill on those guys. I mean, as a fan of the game and as another coach in the league, I mean, it was fun to watch. And you just hope that they were gonna, or that you hope that we could limit the damage that they did. But on other teams too, Moose Jaw's got some good talent. Regina's got some good talent. There's talent all over the league. Every team has some talented players on their roster. So just being able to, have a front row seat to that every game, and not only with our guys, but as you said, the opposition as well. It's it's good to see. I think our league is one of the best AAA leagues in Canada. And it's, like I said, it's fun to sit back and just watch that on a weekly basis.
Yeah, for sure. Just this league is just loaded with talent, and we've seen that in the past as well. Not just this year; it's been historically a talent that does generate some highly skilled players come through this league and go on to have some successful careers. But talking about those big wins, 3-2 win against the Blazers, 3-2 win against the Moose Jaw Warriors team. Just talk about how huge it is to get wins against teams like that, teams specifically like that, so early on in the season to build the confidence of this group.
Yeah, you said it. You took the word right out of my mouth. That's big confidence builder for us. And with Moose Jaw, we went in there 2 weeks ago tomorrow. We went in there with 6 affiliated players. We had just played 5 games in Calgary that weekend, and we were pretty banged up. So going into that game, we wanted to compete. Obviously, we hoped to come out with 2 points, but the biggest thing for for us as a staff was, let's just go in, compete, work hard, and see what happens. And we came out of there with a win. We played well, and the guys that we called up from the Bantam AA team and the Midget AA team, they all contributed to that. So that was obviously a good win for us. And then that set us up going into the weekend. The Blazers came in and, they were 5-0. And like I said, we're scoring a lot of goals. So, it was a good challenge for us to see how we match up with them. And, we went toe to toe that game, and it was a 2-2 game until the last minute, and we got a last minute goal. So, couldn't replicate that the next day, but just to beat both of those teams, was good for our confidence, and showed that, we haven't seen Regina yet. We haven't seen Notre Dame since the preseason. Haven't seen Warman yet, but I think for our guys, it gave them confidence for sure. And I think the league as a whole this year, it's going to be such a competitive league. And I mean, we can see now, Regina obviously had a good start to their season. But there's been some tight games, and there's a lot of teams right now that are just kind of clumped together. So, and I think that's going to continue, and it's going to force everybody to be on their game every night and not to take anybody lightly. And if you were to ask any other coach in the league, they'd say the same thing, that seeing the competitiveness of the league and needing to be ready to go every night. I think everyone would be in agreement. So, it makes it fun to coach and makes it fun to play. And, even for people in the stands to watch that, is good for the league.
Yeah, for sure. It's also great for these kids' skill development, being able to go up against the best of the best in the province, younger players playing against older players as well, getting that experience of going up against older and maybe even better competition than they faced before. But, talking about this team, of course, the WHL draft moved to December this season. Speak about, are there any potential hopefuls for getting drafted on this year's Swift Current Legionnaires team?
Yeah, we only have two first-year players. So Linklater and Darby, they're the only two guys that are going to be eligible for this draft. We'll see. I mean, they obviously both hope to get drafted. And we'll see how the next 2 months go. They've, there's been some growing pains for both, and I think, maybe Darby's had a little bit easier of a transition than Linklater has, but I think they're two different players. Each guy brings something, good things. Both guys bring good things to our team, and they're two different players. So, obviously us as a program, I mean, we want to see both guys get drafted and have that opportunity. But for us, they're getting opportunities. Both guys, as I said a little while ago, Hudson's been on our first line. We'll call it that. He's been in that role since the start of the season. He's getting power play and penalty kill time. So, the opportunity's there for him. And Linklater, he's in a top 6 role here now as well the last little while, and more special teams opportunities. So, the opportunity's there for both guys, and it's up to them to decide what to do with that. But their work ethic for both guys is very good. They're both really good kids, and they're coachable, and so it's we'll see how the next 2 months go for them. But some good opportunity here for them. We play lots between now and then. So us as coaches, we want to do the best job we can to put them in position to be drafted and have that opportunity. But if they're not, or if one guy goes and one doesn't, whatever it is, it's it's not the end of the day, or it's not the end of the world at all. So it's whether you get drafted or not, it's keep putting your work in and keep finding ways to get better every day. And if you're not drafted, use that as some motivation to show that you should have been drafted.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, it's not the end of the day if you don't get drafted. There's many different paths that players take to get into the highest level that they can possible, right? And for a lot of these kids, that's the NHL. But going into what you were saying about the affiliate players that you guys had, stepping up big time, contributing, like you said, we'll put it that way. But how nice is it to know that you have players like that to rely on and getting an early look at the talent that is coming up that could potentially get roster spots on the team next season.
Yeah, it's been nice. And we haven't been the most fortunate team with our injuries the last few weeks, and but just to know that we have that the Bantam and Midget AA programs right here in Swift Current that we can pull players from, and can practice with us. That's important for us. And there's been a good mix of guys, like some of the affiliate players that we've used. They're 17. So next year, their minor hockey career is going to end after this year. But bringing those guys up, they've had 2 years of midget AA. And 2 years ago, I coached the Swift Current midget AA team, so I'm familiar with those guys. So to bring them up, we know that it's going to give us, it's going to make us a little bit older, right? When they come up, like that Moose Jaw game that we use them for. We put 3 17-year-olds in the lineup, and so that almost doubled our 17-year-olds that we have on the team. So, but bringing those guys in, I know that they're just going to give an honest, hardworking effort. And we've used Parker Rondeau, and then he's an underage player. He's only a second-year Bantam. And Bernie Weston, he's a goaltender here. He's a second-year Bantam as well. So, it's a good opportunity for us to have a look at those guys for next year. And we have some, there's an 06 forward that we have as an affiliate player as well. And again, when he skates with us, just the more chances we can see, him and how he's matching up against our current guys, it just, as you said, gives us a little bit of a head start to evaluate for not only for this year, but for, as a full-time player next year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always nice to get an early look of what is potentially going to come to be for you guys, what you guys might be offered to take next year and to fill in some roster spots, right? Talking about the past weekend against Battlefords, the Battleford Stars, you guys winning 5-4 and 6-4, both games being at home. Of course, you guys are on a long homestand right now, a 9-game homestand. But just talking about the past weekend in Battlefords, what you saw from this team to get those wins.
Yeah, it was. If you look at the box scores from both of those games, we had a tough time keeping leads. Like both games, we had. Saturday we had 2 2-goal leads, and Battlefords came back both times, and yesterday we had a couple leads as well. So credit to Battlefords for being resilient and not quitting. But for us, we're happy that we got 2 wins out of it. With how we got them, we're not happy with. Definitely some good learning moments for our squad, and lots of good things to watch on video this week that we did well and that we didn't do well. So for us, and it's part of the learning experience, is when you've got teams where you want them, when you've got a couple goal leads on teams and you've got the momentum, it's how to keep that. And when you lose it, it's how do we get it back, and how do we stop the bleeding, and not let things snowball. So it's, as I said, a learning experience for us. But saw some good things this weekend, and to be able to score 11 goals was nice. We haven't had too many breakout games, so for some guys to get on the board and For us to bury 11 goals was good. I don't like the fact that we gave up 8. I thought defensively and even goaltending too. I thought from the net out, we could have been better defensively, and we'll tighten things up and make sure we're better. But yeah, I mean, we got 2 wins, and we got those not playing our best. So there's some good things we can draw from that too, and show, hey, you know what, we didn't play our best, but still found a way. We didn't quit. When Battleford's had the momentum both games, we found a way to come back with a good shift or to score a goal or whatever it was. So as a coach, that's good to see. There's no quit in your group, and the resiliency in the room. But lots of room for improvement too, and we got to have a good week of practice this week, and we've got PA coming in for 2 games this weekend, and we played them the opening weekend of the season there, and in PA, and they took it to us pretty good. So we've got to have a good work week here, and hopefully put ourselves in a good spot this weekend to get some points.
Yeah, and that actually does lead me into the final question here for you. Just upcoming game, upcoming weekend, 2 games this weekend, upcoming against the Prince Albert Mintos. They're 2 points up on you guys in the standings. Could be seeing a change in standings depending what goes on in those games, what happens in those games this weekend. But of course, losing to them 7-2 early on in the season, the first meeting early in the year. What's the game plan, the preparation going to be like heading into this weekend against a team like the Mintos with what's on the line so early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, we're a different team than we were 3 weeks ago when we played them. We've had we've been able to continue building here the last few weeks since we played them, and we're much more comfortable with our systems and how we want to play, and we've as I said, beating Moose Jaw and the Blazers and getting 2 wins this past weekend, like run a little bit of a nice little run here, so we've got some confidence. Yeah, I think for us, I mean, they've got lots of talent on that squad, and for us, it's just make sure we're competing for 60 minutes. I know that's cliche to say, but we've got to make sure our compete level is where it needs to be. We tighten things up defensively, and continue the momentum here that we got from getting 11 goals this weekend. There's guys you could tell it was kind of like a weight off their shoulders getting their first goal in a little while. So that needs to continue, and we're pretty close in the standings right now. I mean, it's still early in the year, so we're not standings watching by any means, but I mentioned the Max tournament a few minutes ago. Like, that's returning this year. They're making the decisions on teams around November 15th. So, if it's something like past years where you need to be in a certain position by a certain date, our goal, we want to get there. So we want to put ourselves in as best position as possible in the next few weeks to have the opportunity to go to the Max tournament. And the Mintos probably are in the same boat. So it's a few good games here, a few big games for both teams, and hopefully we can put on a good show.
And of course, as mentioned, Swift Current will be taking on the Prince Albert Mintos this weekend on Saturday and Sunday for a 2-game weekend series. Both games being played at the Legionnaires' home arena, the Credit Union iPlex. The first game of the weekend goes Saturday at 8 p.m. between the two teams, and then the final game of the weekend in that 2-game series goes at 1:45 on Sunday. And of course, if Swift Current is able to win both games this weekend, they'll jump over the Mintos in the standings. Of course, if they split their series, the Mintos will still have the lead on them in the standings in terms of having a higher placement. And of course, if the Mintos win both games, they'll widen their gap on the Legionnaires in the standings. And here's a look at the standings in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League. And the top team in the league right now is the Regina Pack Canadians, they sit atop of the standings at 8 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties, and 1 overtime loss. That's good enough for 17 points in 9 games. Of course, here on the Prospect Show, we'll be giving you guys weekly updates of what the standings are looking like, of course, what could change in the standings. And coming up after this next commercial break here on the show, I'm going to be giving you guys some final words and signing off on this edition of the Prospect Show. You're watching the return of the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot-Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League, joined me on tonight's edition of the Prospect Show. Of course, we did the interview pre-recorded earlier today. Nice to have Chris on the show for the return of the Prospect Show, and I want to thank Chris for coming on and being the guest on tonight's episode. I want to thank you, the viewer, for taking the time and tuning into this edition of the show. And I also want to thank the sponsors of tonight's edition of the Prospect Show for sponsoring this episode. I'll be back next week at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday. Of course, Mondays are our new times for... Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League, joining me on tonight's edition of the Prospect Show on the return of the Prospect Show. I want to thank Chris for taking the time out of his Monday and coming on as the guest on this week's edition of the show. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning into this edition of the show. And I also want to thank our sponsors for sponsoring the return of... Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Of course, I was joined by Chris Keleher, head coach of the Swift Current Legionnaires in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League in tonight's episode. I want to thank Chris for taking the time out of his Monday and coming on tonight's edition of the show. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for taking the time out of your Monday night and tuning in, and also a special thanks to our sponsors for sponsoring this edition of the show. I'll be back on next Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for an all-new edition of the Prospect Show. You guys can catch that episode on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, on our website at astvproductions.com, or if we go live, when we do go live, we do our shows on Twitter. So if it's a live edition of the Prospect Show, you can catch it on Twitter as well at Amateur Sports TV. But yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of the Prospect Show. Glad to be back hosting this show. It felt like a fun return, honestly. Had a lot of fun talking to Chris Keleher on this edition of the show. We'll see you next Monday, folks. Until then, I've been your host of the Prospect Show, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your Monday night. Stay safe out there. Have a wonderful week as well. And until next Monday, we'll see you then. Peace out, everybody.